So with that, let's bring in Mike Pompeo, former Secretary of State and CIA Director, now a Fox News contributor. Iran put a $1 million bounty on Mike Pompeo's head, and the Biden administration renewed his security protection earlier this year in that situation. Secretary Pompeo, always good to see you, sir. Thank you very much for being here. You know, I guess what strikes me, I want to talk to you about Iran and their meddling in U.S. politics, which now is a U.S. intelligence concern of high order. But your reaction as we look at this very unusual situation where the president of the United States is really in the back seat now to his vice president who is running for office, and he gets questioned on some very big issues that are pressing on the White House.
Yeah, Martha, it's a very dangerous time. Our adversaries are watching this too. Like, who's in charge? Who's running American national security? Who's making the decisions about whether to send the increased weaponry that we've now sent to the Middle East? The Ukrainians have now advanced into Russia. President Biden says it put Russia at risk, but of course his policy always told the Ukrainians not to do that, and now they have. When he says don't, no one seems to be listening, because I don't think the world believes that America is leading on the world stage. And that's dangerous, not just for Ukraine or Europe. It's not just dangerous for Israel. It's dangerous for the United States of America, too. We've got soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines all across the world that are now under increased risk because our chain of command, our leadership model is greatly challenged, because we've got a president who has demonstrated he is incapable of deterring our adversaries.
Well, who do you think these other leaders believe is in charge right now? The leadership in Iran, in Israel, in Ukraine, in Russia. Well, how do you think they see all this?
Yeah, they see it as a tag team, probably a coalition of people all coming together. There's no decision maker. There's no true commander-in-chief who's actually executing, taking on this information, making decisions, giving directives. And they see that as a green light. So the risk in Israel tonight is much greater because the United States doesn't have that clear chain of command, right? It's this whole idea of a unitary executive who's making decisions, who's taking the information on board and getting it right for America and for our friends and allies. They see that they'll when the crisis hits, there'll be a situation room meeting. That's a dangerous thing to do. You need to know in advance, here's what we're going to do in response to whatever it is they do. And I can't imagine that inside the Biden White House today there is a clear delineation, and our adversaries see this as a green light, Martha.
Well, the pressure on Harris from the left is to reevaluate sending arms at all to Israel. And we just showed on the board the tremendous presence that the U.S. military has there now. But I think in your first response, you were talking about munitions and sending what Israel needs for itself, to defend itself right now. You know, what did you think of her answer on that she was open to talking to these protesters about that?
No, it's remarkable to watch the vice president on the campaign trail talk about bringing in progressives to the national security establishment. You need hard people running your deterrence strategy. You need hard people protecting America. You need hard people ensuring that you have American sovereignty and demonstrating the very model of America that allowed us to deter these bad guys, the Russians, the Iranians, for 4 years. When you demonstrate weakness, Martha, you get precisely what you see today. The Chinese Communist Party, the Iranians, the Russians, all working in our elections and against our friends around the world. And our friends are saying, is America really going to be with them? And sadly, the evidence to date is that we are not. We're not going to do the things that support them so they can defend themselves.
So Iran obviously, has preferred the Biden-Harris model of, let's reopen the nuclear weapons negotiations and the deal that was overturned by the Trump administration. And now we're hearing U.S. intel sources, according to reporting in the Wall Street Journal, saying that up until just a few weeks ago, they felt that Russia posed the greatest threat in terms of manipulation in our U.S. election process. Now they say Iran has surpassed that. Iran is getting very involved in, social media, protests, all of these sort of things that sort of soft influence elections in a very real, significant way, potentially.
Yes, Martha, Iran is very capable. They have the capacity to do precisely the kinds of things the Russians do. They can begin to shape public opinion as much as anything else. We saw the reports of the hack of the Trump campaign.
Right.
We should expect this to continue because there's been no cost imposed on the Iranian regime for any of their malign activity.
Secretary Pompeo, always good to talk to you, sir. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be with you.
We'll talk to you soon. You too. A lot going on.